What is going on YouTube? Kronos here, and welcome back to the PSO2 video. So today's video is one that I mentioned I would do a while back. Actually, this was before episode 6 started up. I know it's been almost 2 weeks since episode 6 started and Etoile came out. I'm going to be going over my Etoile trees, what I actually use personally, what I recommend for other players, and even a subclass tree to utilize as well, and kind of why I made certain choices, so on and so forth. So video shouldn't be too terribly long. I don't think it is. Let me double check if I have everything in order. I do. Okay, cool. I don't think it's gonna be too terribly long. It's a fairly straightforward setup. There's a couple of things that I have seen that people are recommending that they go against, which seems a bit strange for me. But here we go. And now, just as a disclaimer, you can choose to build your tree however you'd like. I'm just giving you guys an idea of what I currently build, what I'm currently using, and what I recommend to other players and why I recommend them. You can always take your tree and tailor. You can always take a tree and tailor it to your playstyle. For example, if I put points into a weapon that you don't use, there's no reason for you to have points into that. Maybe you can put those points into something else. You don't always have to go exactly by the trees that are provided. Tailor them to your use, your playstyle itself. Anyway, let's jump into this. So it's got a pretty straightforward tree itself, nothing too terribly complicated. This first tree that I'm going to be showing you guys is just one I recommend for the standard player who's just getting into Etoile. It does take a couple of choices that are a bit easier on the DPS side to work with. There's some that are non-negotiables. Of course, you have your all attack bonus, your perfect attack bonus, and your perfect attack critical. I'm going to talk about specifically a few choices that are going to seem a bit strange to some people and why some people recommend against them, and other ones I'm like, I don't understand why people recommend against them. So the first one that I take that's different on this tree is going to be flat attack. Flat attack gives you an extra 30% damage whenever you use a non-just attack or a non-perfect attack itself. So that counts for PAs, that counts for normal attacks. If your attack is not in rhythm properly and you don't perfect attack it, you will gain 30% damage to that non-perfect attack itself. Now, people ask, why do you do this? Well, depending upon the weapon you're playing, the rhythm can be a bit odd for Etoile at times, so it's not always the easiest to just attack everything that you're doing. I'm going to say just attack, by the way, instead of perfect attack, but they basically mean the same thing. Just attack was just the terminology used over on the JP servers. It's perfect attack on the global servers. You'll understand it's the same thing either way. But if you don't just attack an attack itself, then it doesn't do all this other extra damage. Well, not everyone's going to play perfect. There will be times where you will mess up your just attacks, so this does kind of help that or cushion the blow on losing that amount of damage. So it's not terrible. It's a good chunk of damage itself, so it's kind of nice. Other one I recommend that probably is always going to be the case is Etoile HP Restorate. Now, this essentially heals you whenever you fall below a certain amount. In this case, if it's 10 points in, whenever you fall below 50%, you get healed every 3 seconds for 2.5% of your HP until you are above 50% again. Now, you can always take less points away from this. Of course, it shows the HP threshold all the way down to 5%, which is crazy low. It happens every 5 seconds, so it's not really that useful at that low amount. But it does allow you a bit extra survivability. Not that Etoile needs a ton of it, but you still can get wombo comboed. Enemies are still hitting really, really hard in UH. You're not going to be getting one shot, but you could still get caught off guard and absolutely get destroyed. So it's a possibility. Do I say everyone, or is this something I say everyone should take? Absolutely not. But while you're still learning the class, you do more damage while you're alive, not dead. So if you have to take this to survive, go for it. Other ones are pretty standard. Perfect guard is pretty great. It restores PP to everyone, including yourself. So no reason not to take it. Overdrive is overdrive. Of course, we're going to be grabbing this. This is kind of a bit of utility that we have. Cooldown preservation is something you have to take to continue in the tree anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Stationary physique, while you're standing still, you don't get launched back. Kind of free, kind of nice. You don't always need this, but when the situations where it's going to activate, it's nice to have. Damage bouncer is kind of a non-negotiable in my opinion. It's pretty free as far as damage reduction. It's 70% damage reduction. The only caveat is you can't use healing items. You can't use healing potentials. The only way you can heal yourself is with a mate item. By the way, I want to specify this specifically. You can only heal yourself with mate items or with atomizer items. You cannot get healing from any other source. No one healing you, not your mag, nothing, anything that's not a mate item or an item itself healing you, it does not work. Just keep that in mind. Etoile refresh works because that doesn't count as anything else healing you. It actually counts as an item healing you, which is kind of crazy. But the Etoile refresh for overdrive does actually work on healing you, but that's it. That's the only other thing that will heal you itself. Nothing else will help in those cases. Just because people have all these other ideas of I'll use this, I'll use that. No, it doesn't work. It always just goes to 1. It straight up goes to 1. Even your mag healing you goes to 1. So keep that in mind. Same arts PP preservation is just because 3 points in it is actually optimal with tech arts bonus. just because of how many times this will activate before you switch PPs. I'm sorry, before you switch PPs, before you switch attacks itself. This is only active on 3 attacks. So after you use 3 attacks, you're going to want to switch anyway. Basically, it's an effect called Tech Arts. Essentially, you use one PA into the next PA itself, and then you spam that PA 3 times in a row. So you use, like, say, PA number 1 into PA number 2, PA number 2, PA number 2. Then you can go to PA number 3, PA number 3, PA number 3, or back to PA number 1 3 times, however it happens to go. Basically, you're doing this 3 times. So this ability here, actually, I think they have it on here. Let me see if it's shown. No. Wouldn't be one of my videos if we were actually prepared for this. Hang on. I know it's on here somewhere. No, that's Restorate. That's Flat Attack. J bonus. Tech Arts bonus. Here we go. So this is... No, this isn't the same one. I want Same Arts bonus. That's Tech Arts bonus. Same Arts PP save. Here we go. So as you can see at 3 points, number of times reach is at 4. So after you've done it 3 times, you're going to be swapping over anyway. So this is kind of just like the optimal spot. If this was 3, it'd be nice. If this was 3, it'd be even nicer. But this is pretty much exactly where you want to be, just because this only goes up to a maximum of 3 times anyway. So it just happens to be optimal, and that's it up. And that's it up. And that's pretty much it for these skills here. Everything else is pretty self-explanatory. Hey, it's damage. Hey, it's critical. Hey, it's damage. Hey, it's damage. Hey, it's damage. Hey, it's damage reduction. You want to take it anyway. It's 1 point. The other one that I've seen on here that people have kind of like argued against taking, which this one really kind of like blows my mind a bit, is Double Saber Slide Step. People normally see Double Saber Slide Step and they think of it as just a movement tool. It isn't very fast unless you're locked onto a target. And the reason you take Double Saber Slide Step is not only for you gap closing to relock onto a target, it also has an ability that you can utilize to your advantage. If I can find it here. Here we go, Double Saber Slide Step. Whenever you're using the slide step and you actually use a charged attack out of the slide step itself, it's got a pretty crazy multiplier on it. It's 1.8 times. It's absolutely ridiculous. It does a ton of damage, and you're almost completely invulnerable as you do the attack itself, because the attack has either iframes or guard frames. I can't remember which of the two. But basically, you're able to charge it on your target, do a ton of damage, regen PP back if you happen to be low on PP from the next fight itself, or maybe you're in the middle of combat and you've been knocked back, or you jump back yourself. Say you use an ability like, let me think really quick. Say you use an ability like Celestial Collide Stay Arts, or Celestial Collide Skip Arts. It kicks you back super far. Normally you have to wait until you hear the sheen or you see the sheen on your character to then gap close back in again fairly easily. What you can do is cancel out of it faster by just double tapping your step toward the target. If you're locked on, you move faster, and then you also can just use a hold attack to do a bunch of damage and have a safe entry to continue to DPS. So it is, in my opinion, extremely important if you're playing Double Saber. People seem to look at it as just being the slide step. Its regular like slide is pretty mediocre. It's not great for movement. I wish it was a great movement tool outside of combat, but it's for use in combat. So definitely grab it. The rest of these are pretty mandatory. They're pretty self-explanatory. You can read through them if you'd like, but it's just all stuff put in each of the weapons. We're not going to go into them individually because there's really no sort of argument here as far as that. But that's the main tree that I recommend for most players as they're first starting Etoile. The rest of these will be a little faster because we won't have to talk about everything, but I'm going to show you guys the tree that I personally use for my Etoile and how it's different and why I take certain things and why I don't take them. I drop Flat Attack bonus because I'm used to keeping my JAs consistently. I mean, granted, it's not always perfect, but I also want to make sure I'm striving to do that consistently all the time. But that's something that's a me choice. That's what I want to do. And I just want as much damage as possible. Alternatively, I also dropped Etoile HP Restorate because of Etoile Will providing you all of your HP and PP back once every quest, and giving you all of your gear when you die, basically. So you don't die, you essentially come back. It's kind of like any will skill, hero will, all that stuff, but you get full gear back and full HP and full PP. It's kind of a DPS bonus to be able to activate it at the right time. So that means another full connect, that means another wand explosion. Like, it's a lot of damage itself, and HP Restorate tends to combat that a little bit too much for me. So I drop it completely, mainly because I usually don't need it. I very rarely die on Etoile as it is, and if I do die, it's usually because I was being greedy or I was trying to proc Etoile Will and I didn't realize it was already procced. So that's why I drop it. That's my personal preference. You guys can do whatever it is you like, but I completely dropped it, and I dropped Flat Attack. Instead, we moved our points into Total Attack up, just for extra damage. Granted, it's not a ton of damage, honestly, but it is the only other damage that's available in the tree, and I wanted more damage overall. And 3 points in PP up. 3 points in PP up just kind of put me at a roundabout number that I kind of like, so I just went with that and we stuck with it. But that's really the only difference in my tree versus everything else. Everything else is still the same. We're still taking damage at all those locations. Just flat attack and HP restore are dropped. So the last tree we're going to go over is actually a subclass tree for Etoile, primarily one that's used for melee classes. This also works for tech classes, but I'll explain how you have to do it a bit differently. Essentially, we're just taking everything that's not a main class skill: stationary physique, damage bouncer, and Etoile boost. All fantastic. These are ways of defensive tools, and in some cases even damage tools when we're looking at stationary physique, depending upon the class. I'm looking at U Ranger, and I'm looking at U Force. But either way, pretty self-explanatory. You have to take this to be able to move down the tree, so it's really it doesn't work for your main class. I'm sorry, it doesn't work for your subclass, but you have to take it. Doesn't really matter. HP restore is great because you really don't need points anywhere else. Notice how we've capped all of our skills down here. Total defense up, all this stuff. We capped all of it. All of it's capped. We got extra PP, we have extra attack up, we have extra defense up, and we have HP up to 8 points. Now you can drop this point down to 7 and take same arts and 4 points I've seen people take. It just depends on what you decided you want to do. It's up to you either way. You can go even more points into it. But keep in mind that your damage bonus stops at 3 times effect use. So it just depends on how you're playing. All the rest of these items, all the rest of these skills don't work unless you are main classing and then flat attack bonus. You're JAing everything in other classes anyway, so you really don't need to worry about that too much. But if you really feel like you're needing the extra bit of help, flat attack bonus does work as a subclass. So there you go. As far as mags go for Etoile, by the way, just as a quick heads up, because you have Etoile mag, it just takes whatever you have in your primary stat, whether it be S attack, R attack, or tech attack, or if you're playing global, melee, ranged, or tech. And duplicates it into other stats. For example, if you have 200 melee, that'll give you 200 melee, 200 range, and 200 tech. Fairly simple. Doesn't matter how you go about it. But that's really about it when it comes to these classes. It comes to Etoile. It's pretty straightforward, pretty self-explanatory. Oh, I did mention I would say something about this for casters. Tech arts and same arts don't work for casters, so you don't take either one of these two. You can grab flat attack bonus and you can get the rest of the HP up, but that's really about it. There's nothing else that you really need on this tree that you can get on this tree that makes any effect. So if you're playing this with, say, like Force Etoile, I believe you drop these 2 skills because they don't work with techs. So that's pretty much all there is to it. Hopefully that was helpful to you guys. If you have any questions, feel free to toss them in the comments below. As always, I'm going to link the skill builds in the video description. A like on the video is much appreciated and absolves you half of your ad block guilt. The other half is absolved by subscribing. Both are completely free and help me out a ton. You can always keep up with the content by clicking the bell icon to be notified of when videos go live and any community posts that happen to pop up, or join us over on Discord or follow me over on Twitter to be a part of either one of those communities. I always notify all of those locations when I go live, so hopefully you'll be able to see a notification in one of those places. Thanks so much for joining me, guys, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care. Peace out.